Hello students, today I bring for you a new chapter and that is locomotion and movement. In this chapter, we are going to cover important topics like types of movement, muscle, skeletal system, joints, disorders of muscular and skeletal system. We will cover NCERT and as well as this PDF. Okay, so let's start. First of all, what is locomotion? Locomotion is the voluntary movement resulting in a change in location. All locomotion are movements, but all movements are not locomotion. For example, if you are sitting in a particular place and you move your hands, legs, fingers, that is called movement, not locomotion. But if you use your feet and you go to some places, then that distance you covered, that is called locomotion. I hope you will understand it. Next, locomotion and movements are interlinked. Example, in paramecium, cilia helps in the movement of food through cytopharynx, and in locomotion, hydra use tentacles to capture prey for locomotion, and limbs help to change body posture and for locomotion. Here you can see in the diagrams, it is a paramecium where cilia are there, you can see, and cilia helps in the movement of food through cytopharynx. Cytopharynx is labeled here, you can see, and in also locomotion. Hydra uses its tentacles, these are the tentacles, okay, to capture prey and for locomotion, and human body, limbs, forelimbs and hind limbs help to change body posture and for locomotion. Next, types of movement in human. Amoeboid movement, ciliary movement and muscular movement. Amoeboid movements means by pseudopodia formed by streaming of protoplasm. Cytoskeletal elements like microfilaments also help for this. Example, macrophages and leukocytes. We all know in our body there are leukocytes are the WBC, white blood corpuscles, and they capture prey like amoeba take its food. Okay, so for that cytoskeletal elements that present inside the cell, they help in this movement. Okay, so macrophages and leukocytes, they show amoeboid movement. Next, ciliary movement by cilia. Example, cilia in trachea to remove foreign substances and oviduct for passage of ova. Trachea or windpipe, where cilia is present, it removes the foreign substances out from our body through mucus, and in oviduct for passage of ova. Means the ova, when it comes out from ovary, it travels in oviduct or fallopian tube, and cilia makes it smoother, the traveling smoother of the ova. Next, muscular movement by muscles. Example, movement of limbs, tongues and jaw, etc. Here again, these points are explained more. Points are same, but in diagram you can see. Here you can see these are the cortex or actinator. These are called cytoskeleton. Okay, like this. These are called cytoskeleton. Okay, this helps the part of macrophages and leukocytes to move. And here you can see bacteria, white blood cell, red blood cell, WBC. It directly capture the prey like this by opening pseudopodia. This is called amoeboid movement. Second is ciliary movement by cilia. Example, in cilia in trachea or windpipe, you can see, to remove foreign substances, and oviduct for the passage of ova. These are the cilia. Okay, these are the cilia where the particular ova easily carried out. Okay, and muscular movement by muscles. Example, movement of limbs, tongue and jaw. Some more movements are there like flagellar movement. It helps in the swimming of spermatozoa, maintenance of water current in the canal system of sponges, and locomotion or protozoans like euglena. Okay, water canal system, we all familiar with the term water canal system. Hello, here is the flagellar movement is there. Now coming to human muscular system. Before we start this topic, let's see what your NCERT says. Same points what we discussed in the PDF. Here you can see movements result in the change of place or location, that is such voluntary movement. Voluntary means the movement that occur on your presence, means you know that something is moving in your body, that is called voluntary movement, that is called locomotion. Okay, walking, running, climbing, flying, swimming are all some form of locomotory movements. Here it is said, for example, paramecium cilia has the movement of food through cytopharynx and in locomotion. Hydra can use its tentacles for capturing its prey and use them for locomotion. Here, all locomotions are movements, we can say, but all movements are not locomotions. Then what it said? Locomotion is generally for searching of food, shelter, mat, suitable breeding grounds, favorable climatic conditions, or to escape from enemies or predators. Types of movement, there are three types of movement: amoeboid, ciliary and muscular. Here macrophages, leukocytes in blood exhibit amoeboid movement, and pseudopodia found by streaming of protoplasm as in amoeba. Cytoskeletal elements like microfilaments are also involved in amoeboid movement. Ciliary movement occur in the most of our internal tubular organs, which are lined by ciliated epithelium. Trachea and passage of ova, the female reproductive tract, is also facilitated by ciliary movement. Then movements of our limbs, jaw and tongue, they require muscular movement. The contractile property of muscles are effectively used for locomotion and other movements by human beings. Now coming to muscles. Here in chapter 8, we have studied that the cilia and flagella are the outgrowth of the cell membrane. Flagellar movement helps in swimming of spermatozoa, maintenance of water current in the canal system of sponges, and in locomotion of protozoans like euglena. Muscle is a specialized tissue of mesodermal origin. Okay, about 40 to 50% of the body weight of human adult is contributed by muscles. They have special properties like excitability, contractility, extensibility and elasticity. And based on their location, there are three different type of muscles are identified: skeletal, visceral and cardiac. Now coming to the PDF. Okay, what it is said, see. Here same, mesodermal in origin. All our muscles are mesodermally originated and constitute of 40 to 50% of the body weight. Muscles have excitability, contractility, extensibility and elasticity. All these are capabilities are present in the muscles. Now three types of muscles are there according to the location: skeletal, also called striated or voluntary muscle; visceral, non-striated or smooth muscle; and cardiac muscle. See, first of all, skeletal or striated muscle. It attaches to the skeleton. That's why it is called skeletal muscle. Striations are present. It is voluntary. Rich blood supply. Fatigue muscle. Fatigue means it can easily weaken and we need rest. That is called fatigue muscle. Muscle fibers is multinucleate. Multinucleate, for that a term is given syncytium. If a single cell having more than one nucleus, then that is called multinucleate or syncytium, and it has more mitochondria. Next, visceral or smooth muscles. In visceral organs, striations are absent. It is involuntary, poor blood supply, non-fatigue, uninucleate and less mitochondria. Coming to cardiac muscles, it found only in heart wall. Striations are present, involuntary, rich blood supply, non-fatigue, uninucleate and more mitochondria are present. Now comparison of muscles at a glance. Skeletal muscle attached to skeleton, striations are present, voluntary rich blood supply, fatigue muscle, syncytium, more mitochondria. Visceral, in visceral organs, striations absent, involuntary, poor blood supply, non-fatigue, uninucleate, less mitochondria. Cardiac muscle, in heart wall, striations are present, involuntary, rich blood supply, non-fatigue, uninucleate and more mitochondria. Now coming to structure of treated muscles. Coming to your NCERT, what it is said. Skeletal muscles are closely associated with the skeletal components of the body. They have a stripped appearance under the microscope, hence are called treated muscles. And their activities are under control, voluntary control of the nervous system. That's why they are known as voluntary muscles, and mainly involved in locomotory actions and change of body posture. Visceral, same, located in the inner wall of hollow visceral organs of the body like the alimentary canal, reproductive tract, etc. They do not exhibit any striations and are smooth in appearance, hence are called smooth muscles or non-treated muscles. And their activity are not under control of voluntary control. That's why they are called involuntary muscles. And their function is to transport the food through the digestive tract and gametes through the genital tract. Next, cardiac muscle, muscles of the heart. Many cardiac muscles assemble in a branching pattern to form a cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscles are striated, involuntary in nature, and nervous system does not control the activities directly but indirectly. Next, each organized skeletal muscle in our body is made up of a number of muscle bundles or fascicles held together by a common collagenous connective tissue layer called fascia. Okay, before starting the skeletal muscle, let's see the NCERT, what it is said. Structure of treated muscle. See the diagrams. Here it is your skeletal muscle. Okay, it is a covering, epimysium, and inside this you can see muscle fascicles. And coming to muscle fascicle, zooming this portion, only this portion zooming, this diagram is there. And here what you see, muscle fascicle, and inside that again perimysium, endomysium, muscle fiber. And if you zoom this teeny part, again it is muscle fiber, and there is a covering, it is called sarcolemma, and inside it myofibrils are present. Myofibrils are present. Okay. Skeletal muscles is made up of many muscle bundles or fascicles. Fascicles are held together by collagenous connective tissue layer called fascia. Each fascicle contains many muscle fibers. Here you can easily find out fascia, fascicles, muscle bundle, muscle fiber, muscle cell, sarcolemma, blood capillaries. Next, muscle fibers are lined by plasma membrane or sarcolemma, enclosing the sarcoplasm. Each muscle fiber contains parallelly arranged myofilaments or myofibrils. Next, each myofibril has alternate dark, anisotropic or A-band and light striations, isotropic or I-band. You can see this portion, if you zoom a myofibril, and what it look like this. Okay, arrow is there. Okay, and each myofibril has alternate dark and light bands, A band and I band. It is also given here. You can see A band is given here, I band is given here. It is present inside the myofibril. This is due to presence of two fibrous contractile protein, thin actin filament and thick myosin filament. And this is due to the presence of two fibrous contractile proteins. One is the thin actin filament. Here it is also labeled. You can see actin filament and a thick myosin filament. Coming to next, here you can see I band contains actin. All the I bands contains actin. Okay, this portion is I band, you can see, and they contain actin. A band contains actin and myosin. This portion is called A band, as it is labeled here. You can see it is A band, and all this contains both actin and myosin. They are arranged parallel to each other like this. They are arranged parallel to each other. Okay. Next, A band bears a lighter middle region called H band. The A band it bears a lighter zone. It is called H zone or H band. It is formed only myosin, and the H zone is formed only myosin. Okay, remember, a thin dark line M line runs through the center of the H zone. It is the M line. It runs center through the H zone. Okay, it is a thin dark line. You can see in this diagrams, M line is there. Okay, between the H zone, M line is present. Next, I band is bisected by a dense dark band called Z line. I band is bisected, means divided. It is the I band like this, you can see, and it is divided by a darker band that is called Z line. Okay, both the sides are there, Z line. Region between the two Z line is called a sarcomere. Region between two Z line is called sarcomere like this. It is a Z line, again a Z line, and this is called sarcomere. Okay, sarcomeres are the structural and functional unit of muscle. Remember, sarcomeres are the structural and functional units of muscles. Next, points are same, diagram is different, and this diagram is taken from your NCERT, and you can easily find out I band, A band, Z line, H zone and M line. Before starting the actin, structure of contractile protein, let's see the NCERT, what it said. Muscle bundle or fascicles, collagenous connective tissue layer called fascia. Each muscle bundle contains a number of muscle fibers, and here you can see muscle fiber is lined by a plasma membrane called sarcolemma, as you can see in this diagram, enclosing the sarcoplasm. Muscle fiber is a syncytium, as the sarcoplasm contains many nuclei. Syncytium term, remember, the ER is, that is sarcoplasmic reticulum of the muscle fiber, is the storehouse of calcium ions. Remember, the ER or the sarcoplasmic reticulum is of the muscle fiber is the storehouse of calcium ions. And calcium ions, they play an important role in the movement of muscles. Next, characteristic feature of the muscle fiber is the presence of large number of parallelly arranged filaments in the sarcoplasm called myofilaments or myofibrils. Each myofibril has alternate dark and light bands, and There are also two important proteins are there, actin and myosin. The light band contains actin and is called I band or isotropic band, where the dark band contains anisotropic band or A, which having myosin. Both the proteins are arranged as rod-like structure parallel to each other and also to the longitudinal axis of the myofibrils. Actin filaments are thinner compared to myosin filament, hence also called thin and thick filaments. In the center of each I band is an elastic fiber called Z line which bisects it. Okay. The thick filaments in the A band are also held together in the middle of this band by a thin fibrous membrane called M line. The portion of myofibril between two successive Z lines is considered as a functional unit of contraction and is called sarcomere. In a resting phase, the edge of thin filaments on either side of the thick filament partially overlap the free ends of the thick filaments, leaving the central part of the thick filaments. And that central part of the thick filament is called H zone. So, we can say during resting state, one can identify H zone. Here are the diagrams of your NCERT. Now, structure of contractile proteins. Go to the PDF. Here, structure of contractile proteins. Actin. An actin filament is made up of two filamentous actins which form double helix. Remember, an actin filament is made up of two filamentous actin which forms a double helix. F actin or filamentous actin. See the diagram. Actins are present here. Sarcomere, striations, actin and myosin, and zooming this portion, sarcomere zooming, and this is Z line. As you can see, it is sarcomere, and how the actin filaments are arranged like this. Okay, in a double helix manner, as it is mentioned here. And F actin is a filamentous actin is there. Filamentous actin is a polymer of monomeric globular actins. Filamentous actin is a polymer of monomeric globular actins. And actin contains two other proteins, namely tropomyosin and troponin. Tropomyosin and troponin. And all three combined form a double helix. Next, two filaments of tropomyosin runs along the groups of the F actin double helix. Two filaments of tropomyosin runs along the groups of the F actin double helix. Two filaments are there in tropomyosin. Troponin has 3 subunits. You can see troponin has 3 subunits. Okay. It is located at regular interval on the tropomyosin. In the resting state, a subunit of troponin masks the binding site for myosin on the actin filament. Now coming to myosin. Each myosin filament is a polymer of many monomeric proteins called meromyosins. A meromyosin has two parts. One is your HMM or heavy meromyosin or cross arm, which have globular head like this, globular head, and short arm Okay, this portion is called HMM or heavy meromyosin. It projects outward. Then light meromyosin or LMM, tail portion. These are the portions of the meromyosin which have two parts, HMM and LMM. Remember, the globular head is an active ATPase enzyme. This globular head having an active ATPase enzyme. It has binding site for ATP and active sites for actin. So, it is binding site for ATP and active sites for actin. Remember. Now, mechanism of muscle contraction. Let's see your NCERT what it says. Here the same points are given. You can see each actin filament made up of two filamentous actin helically wound to each other, and each F actin is a polymer of monomeric globular actins. Two filament of another protein, tropomyosin and troponin. Tropomyosin runs close to F actin through its length. Troponin distributed at regular interval of tropomyosin, and each myosin thick filament is also polymerized protein. Many monomeric proteins called meromyosins constitute one thick filament, and each meromyosin is two important parts, a globular head and short arm and a tail. The former being is called heavy meromyosin HMM, and the later is called light meromyosin LMM. The HMM component is the head and short arm project outward at regular distance and angle from each other from the surface of polymerized myosin filament is known as cross arm. The globular head is an active ATPase enzyme and is a binding site for ATP and the active site for actin. Remember. Now then, mechanism of muscle contraction. According to sliding filament theory, contraction of a muscle fiber occurs by the sliding of thin filament actin over the thick filament myosin. So here, according to sliding filament theory, contraction of a muscle fiber occurred by the sliding of thin filament. See the diagram. Sliding of thin filament over the thick filament. And this is called sliding filament theory. See the diagram? Here you can see it is connected like this, and in calcium binding sites, thin filaments, myosin head is connected here, and then you can see it moves, the thick filament moves outside and thin filament moves in this direction, opposite direction. And in the third stage you can see it detached like this, and in fourth stage again the cycle continues. Let's see in details. Steps. Mechanism of muscle contraction. These two diagrams, you are familiar with these two. It is mechanism. Neuromuscular junction. So first of all, what happened? An impulse from CNS reaches to the neuromuscular junction, motor end plate via motor neuron. So first of all, message comes to the muscle fiber, so the motor neuron, and it reaches the neuromuscular junction, means where a neuron connects to the muscle. It is called neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction, it is a synapse between a motor neuron and sarcolemma of muscle fiber. A motor neuron plus a muscle fiber is called a motor unit. Then what happened? Synaptic vesicle release a neurotransmitter acetylcholine. The synaptic vesicles present here, you can see, it contain a neurotransmitter that is called acetylcholine. Remember, it generates an action potential in the sarcolemma that spreads through the muscle fiber. It generates an action potential. The sarcolemma, it spreads through the muscle fiber. It causes the release of calcium ion from sarcoplasmic cisternae into sarcoplasm. As I told you, here you can see after the coming of the acetylcholine, and it generates the action potential through which the particular sarcolemma spread through the muscle fiber. It causes the release of calcium ions. You can see in this diagram, calcium ions are there, and the calcium ions from sarcoplasmic cistern into sarcoplasm. Then you can see calcium binds with a subunit of troponin on actin filaments and unmasks the active site of myosin. What calcium do? It then, here you can see it is a troponin, and when the release of calcium releases, it binds with subunits of troponin and unmasks the active site of myosin. Using the energy from ATP hydrolysis, myosin head binds to the active site on the actin to form a cross bridge. Like this, cross bridge is formed in this diagram. This pulls the actin filament on both sides towards the center of A bend, and actin filament partially overlap so that H zone disappear. As I told you, during resting phase, one can easily find out the H zone, but during the movement phase, the H zone disappear. Next, see the diagram. The Z line attached to the actin is also pulled inward. The Z line which attached to the actins also pulled inward. Okay, Z line, it pulled inward like this. It is a relaxed state and it contracted state. It causes the shortening of contraction of sarcomere. The sarcomere is contracted. In relaxed stage, you can see it take this area, but during contracted, only this much area it takes. I band gets shortened and A band retain the length. I band gets shortened and A bands retain the length. Then ninth step, myosin releases the ADP and inorganic phosphate and goes back to the relaxed state. A new ATP binds and the cross bridge is broken. Here you can see myosin release the ADP. Myosin release ADP and inorganic phosphate and goes back to its relaxed state. A new ATP binds and the cross bridge is broken. The ATP is again hydrolyzed by the myosin head and the above process are repeated, causing the further sliding. Here in this diagram you can see relaxed state, contracting state and maximally contracted. Next, when calcium ion are pumped back to the sarcoplasmic cisternae, the actin filament are again masked. As a result, Z line return to their original position and it results in relaxation. Next, the reaction time of the fibers varies in different muscles. Repeated activation of the muscles leads to accumulation of lactic acid, and which causes the muscle fatigue. This is due to the anaerobic breakdown of glycogen in muscles. Muscle fatigue. Now, red muscle fibers and white muscle fibers. Red muscle fibers means more mitochondria. Mixed means medium mitochondria and white means less mitochondria. Red muscle fiber or aerobic muscle fiber, red color due to myoglobin, it having more mitochondria, aerobic metabolism and slow and sustained contraction. White muscle fiber, white color due to lesser myoglobin, less mitochondria, anaerobic metabolism, fast contraction for short period. You can see long distance running means the runner slowly run because he have to cover a long distance. So like this, muscles are arranged like this. Middle distance running means medium, mixed, medium mitochondria are present, and sprint means full fast running like 10 meter, 50 meter, 100 meter running. So one athlete have to sprint, means running fast, very fast. And here you can see only white muscles are present, less mitochondria. Now coming to human skeletal system. Before starting, let's see your NCERT what it says. Sliding filament theory, as I told you, that contraction of muscle fiber takes place by the sliding of the thin filament over thick filament. Muscle contraction is initiated by a signal sent by the CNS via a motor neuron. A motor neuron along with muscle fiber connected to it constitute a motor unit. The junction between a motor neuron and the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber is called neuromuscular junction or motor end plate. A neural signal reaching the junction releases neurotransmitter, mainly acetylcholine. It generates the action potential in the sarcolemma and it causes the release of calcium ion into the sarcoplasm. Increase the calcium level, it leads to binding of calcium with a subunit of troponin on actin filaments and thereby remove the masking of active side of the myosin. Utilizing this energy from ATP hydrolysis, the myosin head now binds to the exposed active site on the actin to form a cross bridge. See, the same diagram is there. Next, this pulls the attached actin filament towards the center of the A bend. The Z line attached to these actins are also pulled inwards, thereby causing a shortening of the sarcomere, that is contraction. So it is clear that during the shortening of the muscle contraction, the I bend gets reduced, whereas the A bend retains its length, and the myosin releasing the ADP and P1 or a phosphate molecule goes back to its relaxed state. A new ATP binds and the cross bridge is broken. The ATP again hydrolyzed by the myosin head and the cycle continues again. You can see. Again repeatedly relaxation, contraction our muscles do. And repeated activation of the muscles can lead to accumulation of lactic acid due to anaerobic breakdown of glycogen in them, that is causing fatigue. Muscle contains a red colored oxygen storing pigment called myoglobin, and it is contained high in some of the muscles which gives reddish appearance. Such muscles are called red fibers. The muscles are contain plenty of mitochondria which can utilize the large amount of oxygen stored in them for ATP production. These muscles therefore can also be called aerobic muscles. On the other hand, some of the muscles possess very less quantity of myoglobin, therefore their appearance pale or whitish. These are called white fibers, where the number of mitochondria are also few, but the amount of sarcoplasmic reticulum is high. They depend on anaerobic process for energy. Now skeletal system. Let's see the PDF. Here you can see. Human skeletal system. It consists of a framework of bones, 206 bones and few cartilages. Bones has a very hard matrix due to calcium salt deposited in it. Cartilage has slightly pliable matrix due to chondroitin salts. First of all, human skeletal system divides into two different skeletons: axial skeleton which have 80 bones and appendicular skeleton which have 126 bones. Axial skeleton, it consists of the bones of the head, vertebral column, sternum and ribs. Appendicular skeleton, it having bones of forelimbs, bones of hind limbs, pectoral girdle and pelvic girdle. See the diagram. The axial skeleton are marked like bluer one here, and the appendicular skeleton also marked like bluer one. First of all, bones of head, which have 29 bones. Skull portion. It includes skull, 22 bones, hyoid, 1 bone, and ear ossicles, 3 into 2, 6 bones. Skull includes cranial bones and facial bones. Cranial bones are 8 in number. It includes frontal bone, parietal bone, temporal bone, occipitals, sphenoid, and ethmoid bones, and making 8 number. Facial bones 14 type, and here you can see includes nasal bones 2 in number, maxillae, zygomatics, lacrimal bone, palatines 2 in number, inferior nasal 2 number, mandibles 1 in number, and vomer 1 in number. Okay, see the diagrams are there. Here you can easily find out. Parietal bone, frontal bone, temporal bone, occipital, mandibles, maxilla, zygomatic, nasal, ethmoid, sphenoid. Vomer is there. Okay, you can see vomer bone, and palatine bone is here. You can see palatine bone. Now, hyoid bone, you can see hyoid bone present here in this portion. Hyoid bone, U-shaped bone found in the floor of buccal cavity. Hyoid bone. Ear ossicles 3 into 2, 6 in number. Malleus bone, this one. Incus, this one, and smallest bone of our body, stapes. Okay. Next, the skull articulates with first vertebra, atlas of vertebral column, with the help of 2 occipital condyles or dicondylic skull. Here the atlas, it is the first bone of our vertebral column, and the skull articulates from atlas, moves through this one. It is called occipital condyle. Now coming to vertebral column. It is found of 26 vertebrae. There are 5 different types. Cervical vertebrae 7 in number, thoracic vertebrae 12 in number, lumbar vertebra 5 in number. This word lumbar vertebra in the previous chapter, where the kidney are stored, okay, placed between the lumbar vertebra, and sacral vertebra 1 fused to sacrum, and coaxial vertebra 1 fused to coxae. Okay. Vertebra has a central hollow portion, neural canal, through which the spinal cord passes. Number of cervical vertebrae are 7 in almost all mammals. Vertebral column protects the spinal cord, supports the head, and serves as the point of attachment for the ribs and musculature of the back. Third is sternum or breastbone. A flat bone on the ventral midline of thorax is called sternum. Like this, the diagram is there. Ribs 12 pair. 3 different types are there. You can see first 7 pair are true ribs, because they connected to sternum in the front side and your vertebral column from the back side. Second, vertebrochondral or false ribs 8th, 9th and 10th pair. These are called false ribs. because they connected to the back side the vertebral column, but in the front side they use the vertebral cartilaginous bones, okay, to connect to the sternum. Next, floating ribs. 11 12 pair are floating ribs because in the back side they connected to the backbone, vertebral column, but in the front side they do not connect to the sternum. That's why they are called floating ribs. So this 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, 12. 12 pair of ribs are there. Next, each rib has two articulation surfaces, its dorsal end. So it is called bicephalic. Articulation surfaces. True ribs are attached to thoracic vertebrae and ventrally connected to sternum with the help of hyaline cartilage. Here you can see hyaline cartilage, blue are there. Okay, hyaline cartilage are there. C-shaped structures. Remember, false ribs do not articulate directly the sternum but join the seventh rib with the help of hyaline cartilage. See, they join the seventh rib. Okay, like this. 8, 9, and 10th. They are called false ribs. And floating ribs are not connected ventrally. They are only connected dorsally, back side. Now coming to the appendicular skeleton. Before starting this, let's see your NCERT, what it says. Skeletal system consists of a framework of bones and a few cartilages. And here you can see bones and cartilage specialized to connective tissue. The former has a very hard matrix due to calcium salt, that the bones have calcium salt in it, and the latter slightly pliable matrix due to chondroitin salt. Remember, in human body 206 bones are there and a few cartilages. Two principal divisions are there, the axial and appendicular skeleton. Axial comprises of 80 bones distributed along the main axis of the body, the skull, vertebral column, sternum and ribs. All four are considered the axial skeleton. The skull is composed of two sets of bones, cranial and facial, total 22 bones. Cranial bones are 18 in number. They form the hard protective outer covering, cranium for the brain. The facial region is made up of 14 skeletal elements which forms the front part of the skull. A single U-shaped bone called hyoid is present at the base of the buccal cavity, is also included in the skull. Each middle layer contains three tiny bones, malleus, incus and stapes, collectively called ear ossicles. And the skull region articulates with the superior region of the vertebral column with the help of two occipital condyles or dicondylic skull. Coming to vertebral column, 26 serially arranged units called vertebrae and is dorsally placed. It extends from the base of the skull and constitutes the main framework of the trunk. Each vertebra has a central hollow portion through which the spinal cord passes. First vertebra is the atlas. It articulates with the occipital condyle and helps in the movement of the skull. The vertebral column is differentiated into cervical 7 in number, thoracic 12 in number, lumbar 5 in number and sacral 1 fused and coaxial 1 fused regions starting from the skull. Mostly all the mammals having 7 pair of cervical vertebrae, 7 in number, not pair, sorry. Next to sternum is the flat bone on the ventral midline of the thorax. There are 12 pair of ribs. Each rib is a thin flat bone connected dorsally to the vertebral column and ventrally to the sternum. Two articulation surfaces on the dorsal end and is hence called bicephalic because there are two articulation surfaces are there on dorsal side. First 7 pair of ribs are called true ribs. 8th, 9th, 10th false rib or vertebrochondral ribs. Last 2 pair are called floating ribs. Now coming to appendicular skeleton. First, bones of the forelimbs. 13 to 60 bones. They include humerus labeled here. You can see humerus bone, 1 in number. Radius and ulna. Carpals, wrist bones, 8 carpals are there. Carpals, 8 bones are there. You can see, also count from the diagram. Metacarpals, palm bones, number 5. Metacarpals, 5 in number, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And to the knuckle joint, they connected to other bones or the phalanges, digits 14. Okay. Bones of hind limbs, same 13 to 60 bones. They include femur or thigh bone, patella, kneecap, it is called patella. Tibia and fibula, it is also here. You can see tarsals, ankle bones, numbers are 7 tarsals. Here these are the tarsals, okay, 7 in number. Metatarsal, 5 in number, and phalanges 14 digits. Third is pectoral girdle. 2 into 2, 4 bones are there. Both the sides, left and right side. They are formed of clavicle. This one is clavicle. Okay, collarbone. 2 in number. Scapula, triangular shaped structure. Shoulder blade, 2 in number. You can see scapula is a large triangular flat bone situated in the dorsal part of thorax between 2nd and 7th ribs. Scapula is a slightly elevated ridge spine which projects as the flat, expanded process called the acromion. The clavicle articulates with this. Below the acromion is a depression, glenoid cavity which articulates with the head of the humerus to form the shoulder joint. Next is your pelvic girdle. 2 into 1, formed of 2 coxal bones. Each coxal bone is formed by the fusion of 3 bones, ilium, ischium, and you can see ischium and your pubis. At the point of fusion of ilium, ischium and pubis is a cavity acetabulum to which the thigh bone is articulated. Acetabulum. The two halves of the pelvic girdle meet ventrally to form pubic symphysis. Symphysis containing fibrous cartilage. Next is your joints. Let's see the NCERT. What it says. The bones of the limbs along with their girdle constitute the appendicular skeleton. Each limb is made up of 30 bones. The bones of the hand, 4 limbs, humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals and phalanges, and femur, tibia, fibula, tarsals, metatarsals, phalanges are the bones of hind limb or leg. A cup-shaped bone is called patella, cover the knee ventrally. Kneecap. Pectoral and pelvic girdle bones help in the articulation of the upper and the lower limbs respectively. Each girdle is formed of 2 halves. Each half of pectoral girdle consists of clavicle and scapula. Scapula is a large triangular flat bone situated in the dorsal part of the thorax between the 2nd and the 7th rib. The dorsal flat triangular body of scapula has a slightly elevated ridge called the spine, which projects as a flat expanded process called the acromion. The clavicle articulates with this. Below the acromion is a depression called glenoid cavity, which articulates the head of the humerus to form the shoulder joint. And this clavicle is a long slender bone with 2 curvature This bone is called collar bone. Same in pelvic, it will consist of two coxal bones. Each coxal bone is found the fusion of three bones: ilium, ischium and pubis. At the point of fusion of the above bones is a cavity called acetabulum, to which the thigh bone articulate. Acetabulum present here. So the femur articulates. The two halves of the pelvic girdle meet ventrally to form a pubic symphysis containing fibrous cartilage. Now, joints. Joints are points of contact between bones or between the bones and cartilages. There are three different types. You can see non-moving joints, part-moving joints and free-moving joints. Here, fibrous, immovable joints, cartilaginous, slightly movable joints and synovial, movable joints. First of all, fibrous joints. These joints are immovable. Example, stutter between the flat skull bones. These are the immovable joints. Second, cartilaginous joints, slightly movable joints. Bones are joined together with the help of cartilages, each joint between the adjacent vertebrae. Third is synovial joint. It is a movable joint. They are characterized by the presence of a fluid-filled synovial cavity between articulating surface of the two bones. That is movable joints. Between the synovial joints, you can see synovial fluid is there. Synovial fluid between the synovial joints. Now, types of synovial joints and examples. First of all, ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint, found in shoulder and hip joints. Hinge joint found between the knee joint, elbow joints. Pivot joint between atlas and axis. Gliding joint between carpals. Saddle joint between carpals and metacarpals of the thumb. So the diagrams. Here you can see ball and socket joint, hinge joint and pivot joint. Saddle joint and gliding joint found between the carpals. Now coming to disorders of muscular and skeletal system. Sure, NCERT, what it says: joints are the point of contact between the bones or between bones and cartilages. Here, force generated by the muscles is used to carry out movement through joints, where the joints act as a fulcrum. Fulcrum, you remember this term in class 7th and 8th classes. And the joints are classified into three major types, namely fibrous, cartilaginous and synovial. Fibrous do not allow any movement, found in flat skull bones. Cartilaginous joints found in the joint together with the help of cartilages, adjacent vertebrae of the vertebral column, and it permit limited movement. And synovial joints are characterized by the presence of fluid-filled synovial cavity between the articulating surface of two bones. Such an arrangement allows considerable movement, and they are ball and socket joint between humerus and pectoral girdle, hinge joint, that is knee joint, pivot joint between atlas and axis, gliding joint between the carpals, and saddle joint between the carpals and metacarpals of the thumb are some examples. And the last topic, disorders of muscular and skeletal systems. First of all, myasthenia gravis. Myasthenia gravis is a autoimmune disorder. It affects the neuromuscular junction. It leads to fatigue, weakening and paralysis of skeletal muscles. You can see nerve connected to muscles, and with this, in a normal one, particular acetylcholine is produced too, but the sodium ions are there, but here antibodies are there and it is blocked. It is an autoimmune disorder. myasthenia gravis. Second is muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy, it is a progressive degeneration of skeletal muscles. Progressive degeneration of skeletal muscles. Here it is a normal bicep and bicep with muscular dystrophy. See the diagrams. Mostly due to genetic disorder. Next is tetany. It is a rapid spasm in muscle due to the low calcium in the body fluid. If the calcium level is low in the body fluid, then tetany will occur like this. See the diagram. Tetany. And fourth is arthritis. It is the inflammation of joints. It's called arthritis. Inflammation of the joints. And next is osteoporosis. It is the age-related disorder characterized by decreased bone mass and increased chances of fracture. Decreased level of estrogen is a common cause, mostly found in women. And next is last one is gout. It is the inflammation of joints due to accumulation of uric acid crystals. Uric acids are filled in these portions, and this portion is swollen one. Okay, this is called gout. Coming to your NCERT. See the same points are given. Myasthenia gravis is an autoimmune disorder. It affects the neuromuscular junction leading to fatigue, weakening and paralysis of skeletal muscles. Muscular dystrophy, it is progressive degeneration of skeletal muscles mostly due to genetic disorder. Tetany, rapid spasm, wild contraction in muscles due to low calcium level in the body fluid. Arthritis, inflammation of joints. Osteoporosis, it is a age-related disorder due to decreased bone mass and increased chance of fracture. Decreased level of estrogen is a common cause. And last one is gout, the inflammation of joints due to accumulation of uric acid crystals. And with this, we completed this chapter. And if you found any doubt in this chapter, simply ask me. My number is given in the description. Whenever you find any doubt, simply ask me. Okay? Thank you for watching this video, and if you are new one, then please subscribe my channel so that I can provide more and more such videos. Thank you. Jai Jagannath.